Donald Trump seemed to be the only one who was unhappy last night as the stars of the MAGAverse descended to party in New Hampshire. Stars including the Klan mom herself.
Nikki Haley was defeated. The problem is she's going to be dumb enough, and she's going to be a fake candidate, and she's going to keep going, and we're going to destroy her in South Carolina.
Did you see the reddening of Marjorie Taylor Greene's face turn as red as a MAGA hat? You laughed harder at Jimmy Kimmel's jokes than you did at MTG's speech. Our favorite late-night comedian Jimmy Kimmel was forced to handle this political softball. You laugh aloud at his jokes, much like a pig in mud. Anticipate a roast that will turn MTG's collapse into a tranquil June day. What a horrific train disaster. At first glance, our beloved conspiracy queen Marjorie Taylor Greene looked composed, like she understood her subject. MTG reacts quickly, as everyone is aware. At first, she remained united. Think about Greene's typical appearance, but it's nearly as uncommon to find a well-thought-out concept in a Trump speech. Everything went okay until the interviewer Sarah Ferguson mentioned the little 2020 election. Very hot. Then Marjorie, our girl, lost it. It was like a child realizing their favorite ice cream was missing.
Sarah, what the Australian people know that probably don't like your show very much, but they do understand the truth.
Was she drunk? Was that little goblin drinking the blood alcohol content of a leprechaun again?
Ferguson questioned Greene if Trump would ever face legal action over his actions on January 6th. That's when the fireworks began, friends. Trump's ties were not as crimson as Greene's face. Her ears were practically erupting steam. Please wait, it gets better. Her response to Ferguson's statement, "You've never accepted the results of the 2020 presidential election. Indeed, you've lionized people for the attack," was poignant. Greene had enormous eyes that seemed ready to pop. Greene lost it at that point. What will Donald Trump's MAGA supporters do if he loses the election? Oh my. She cut off Ferguson as though they were in competition. She had the voice of a chihuahua on helium, the finest aspect. Ferguson maintained his composure at all times. She asked calm inquiries, as usual. More enraged was Greene by this. Everyone chuckled except the cat when they saw it attempt to handle a laser pointer. Greene's body language was humorous even by itself. She wiggled more than a child who wants to play but has to go potty. Even when she grabbed for the microphone, it seemed as though she was trying out for the absurd America's Got Talent show. The moment Greene lost it and started to question Ferguson's journalism was the worst. "Are you even a serious interviewer, Sarah? Are you even a serious interviewer?" she inquired.
What will Donald Trump's MAGA supporters do if he loses the election?
Sarah, are you even a serious interviewer? But they do understand the truth.
Which is quite the accomplishment for someone who can spell QAnon. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Greene went on, "Sarah, what the Australian people know that probably don't like your show very much, but they do understand the truth," demonstrating once more his status as the world's foremost authority on Australian TV ratings and the truth. The major altercation? After Ferguson, perhaps gritting his teeth, thanked her for her time, Greene violently ripped off her microphone like a band-aid. When you're overheated, you probably have a tantrum and walk out of the kitchen. Jimmy Kimmel did an excellent job of describing Greene's interview collapse. With scathing statements that would have any politician smiling, he made an instant impact. Kimmel noticed that Greene was not feeling well. "Poor Marjorie," he said, pointing out how our favorite conspiracy queen lost her composure when confronted with straightforward questions. She looked about as stable as a Jenga tower in an earthquake. It's funny but pointless, like watching a child explain quantum physics. Greene, our late-night hero, did not conceal his obvious breakdown. The audience laughed harder than Greene did when she revealed her most recent wild idea, with him remarking, "I haven't seen someone turn that red since Trump tried to read a book without pictures." Kimmel then turned his attention to Greene's failure to respond to Ferguson's legitimate queries. The audience erupted in louder applause than a Free Hat Day MAGA rally when he said, "She was dodging those questions like Trump dodges taxes." There was more comic treasure to come. Kimmel was forced to make fun of Greene's attempt to undermine Ferguson. You could have mistaken the audience's laughter for a Trump misspelling montage. He replied, "Are you even a serious interviewer? That's rich coming from someone who thinks Jewish space lasers are a thing." Greene's most recent outburst made Kimmel's roast funnier. The audience roared with laughter as he said, "She grabbed that mic like it was the last conspiracy theory at the QAnon buffet." They thought back to Greene's previous amazing escapes. Kimmel was right to be incensed at Greene's attempt to represent Australians. The audience's thundering cheers demonstrated Kimmel's candid political comedy as he said, "Marjorie Taylor Greene knows as much about Australian TV ratings as she does about actual science. Absolutely nothing." Greene's apparent unhappiness throughout the meeting was brought to light by Kimmel's roast. With every brilliant Kimmel joke, the audience laughed even harder. He stated she was fidgeting more than Trump at a spelling bee. Following his criticism of Greene's horrible interview, Kimmel treated the audience to one final treat. The crowd laughed, remembering all of Greene's accomplishments on his own. You know, laughed, I'm starting to think Marjorie Taylor Greene might not be the stable genius she claims to be.
Last night, she told her supporters that the race is far from over. She still has literally dozens of states to lose. She reminded her fans that Doddering Donald doesn't seem to know that she isn't Nancy Pelosi.
The other day, Donald Trump accused me of not providing security at the Capitol on January 6th. Trump claims he'd do better than me in one of those tests. Maybe he would. Maybe he wouldn't.
Let's move on to Greene's worst mistakes from this awful interview after witnessing her outburst. These ridiculousnesses are entertaining and brighten Jimmy Kimmel's day. He laughed. Well, Marjorie, are you even a serious politician? Because most of us can't take you seriously either. Greene made the famous remark, which Kimmel couldn't help but quote, "Are you even a serious interviewer? I don't usually do interviews like this because people like you can't be taken seriously." More still, Greene twisted the facts around January 6th. Kimmel's response? She said that numerous imprisoned rioters walked into the Capitol building through open doors and videoed and took pictures of the inside of the Capitol. Yeah, and I'm sure they were just there for a friendly guided tour. Maybe they thought it was the world's angriest school field trip. Then Kimmel produced a Play-Doh camera. He cried out, "Look, I found one of the cameras those peaceful tourists used," to the laughter of the assembled spectators, and he uttered exaggerated oohs and ahs like a happy tourist. Greene dug some more. "Sarah, what the Australian people know that probably don't like your show very much, but they do understand the truth."
He said he would crush you in a mental competency test. All you need to do is say okay. No one wants to watch you debate him. We want to watch Donald Trump sitting with paper and a pencil, a number 2 pencil, trying to figure out which one is a rectangle and which is a square.
Was the interviewer's attempt to undermine the interviewer, but Kimmel was unable to ignore it. He said, yes, because nothing says I understand the truth like supporting a guy who thinks windmills cause cancer. A globe twirled in the comic, and he said, I'm trying to find the country where Marjorie Taylor Greene is considered an expert on, well, anything. Kimmel exulted as Greene became irritated. He was joking. She grabbed that mic like it was the last piece of evidence proving the election wasn't stolen. To demonstrate this, Kimmel wrestled a stuffed microphone off his desk. "Is this how you conduct interviews in Congress, Marjorie?" he asked, mimicking her excitement. When Greene accused the interviewer of lying, that was the worst part. Kimmel gave up. In reference to Greene's most well-known conspiracy theory, he made a joke about someone who doesn't take things seriously, someone who believes in Jewish space lasers. To demonstrate, Kimmel constructed a fake laser gun and applied a Star of David decal. He made pew-pew noises at the camera and exclaimed, "Watch out, Australia, Marjorie thinks you're next." At a Trump rally, Greene lost his cool faster than the truth. Kimmel said, "She was so red-faced and angry, I thought she was auditioning for the role of a tomato in a vegetable rights protest."
It's like somebody's gunning for a pardon, huh? Trump must hate him so much.
Did they invite you here tonight?
No, I came. It's an open event. It's a public event. I just registered and came. Came to have fun. It's MAGA time, baby. It's 2024.
I looked all over the internet for a picture of them together. There are none. There are no pictures. Trump has who knows how many photos with Jeffrey Epstein. George Santos, he's like, you stay over there, okay?
What does our favorite orange turd have to do with MTG's meltdown? Inquires. Prepare yourselves, dear, as Kimmel is going to connect these two crazy people. Greene's tantrum had a purpose for our late-night hero. He recognized an opening to go after two of his favorite people. For Jimmy, getting two political clowns for the price of one is like getting Christmas early. Kimmel started off by making alarming parallels between Trump's outbursts and Greene's breakdown. He said, it's like watching a mini Trump in action. Same red face, same incoherent rambling, just with slightly better hair. The comedy goldmine went on, though. Greene's defense of Trump, Kimmel continued, was more persuasive than that of a teenage admirer of their boy band. He said, she's like a Trump groupie. I half expected her to pull out a Trump 2024 poster and start screaming like a Beatles fan in the 60s. The audience laughed when Kimmel likened Greene's meltdown to Trump's outbursts on Twitter. It's like she's been taking how to throw a tantrum lessons from the master himself. he stated. Next thing you know, she'll be rage tweeting at 3 a.m. about Kovfef and hamburgers. Trumpy's grumpy response to it all? Donnie Diapers, of course, lost it. Kimmel showed Trump praising Greene and responding like a delighted parent. It's incredible, Kimmel remarked. It's like watching a toddler congratulate another toddler for having the biggest meltdown in the grocery store. The cartoonist was compelled to make fun of Trump's questioning techniques. Trump praising Greene's interview skills is like a fish complimenting someone's ability to climb trees, stated. Neither of them should be giving advice on how to handle tough questions. Then Kimmel continued his hilarious repartee with Greene and Trump. He continued, they're like the dynamic duo of delusion.
It was party night in MAGA land last night. All the spokesmonsters were out in force, including somebody that we haven't seen for quite some time.
I think Trump tonight will continue to be very gracious. If people say, oh, he insults this one, he's been incredibly gracious. Last point, this is a democracy, a constitutional republic. We must respect the will of the people. And Nikki Haley can't become an election denier.
Look who climbed out of the grave. And I have to admit, I kind of miss that bleach blonde she-demon blowing her vape smoke up Trump's burnt orange crevice at every minute.
Batman and Robin, if Batman was orange and Robin believed in Jewish space lasers, Kimmel said, it's like they're in a competition to see who can say the most ridiculous thing. And let me tell you folks, it's a tough race to call. The audience roared. Kimmel's assessment that Trump and Greene appeared to be living in different universes was the true deal breaker. These two are so detached from the truth, they could be on a spaceship to Mars and still claim they're in Florida, he said. Maybe that's why they get along so well. Misery loves company, and so does crazy. The point where Kimmel truly irritates Greene is the exciting portion. She was humiliated and cooked in a vat of her own insanity by our favorite late-night host. Kimmel made a pointed remark about Greene's irritation right away. She's crazy, she's a snowflake. He made fun of her sentimental inclinations. The crowd erupted in laughter at a politician who appeared to be tough-talking his way out of submission. Kimmel had just begun to warm up. He was getting more and more absurd with every joke he told about Greene. Seeing that Trump detested reading and was enraged by Greene, he remarked, I haven't seen someone that read since Trump tried to read a book without pictures.
I do want to start the show by congratulating Donald Trump for winning his primary election in New Hampshire last night. He won by 11 points. He beat Nikki Haley by double digits. He's also leading Nikki Haley by double digits in felony charges, 91-0.
The comedy alluded to Greene's fury on several occasions. He mimicked her angry expression each time he said her name, getting redder till the crowd laughed. It was joked about almost non-stop. Kimmel also didn't give up on Greene's conspiracies. She grabbed that mic like it was the last piece of evidence proving the election wasn't stolen, he remarked, making fun of her confrontational demeanor and false comments made during the 2020 election. The worst came from Kimmel's answer to Greene's question concerning the interviewer's reliability. Referring to Greene's unconventional theory, he questioned, "Are you even a serious interviewer?" That's rich coming from someone who thinks Jewish space lasers are a thing. While Kimmel persisted in his criticism, the audience laughed. He used props to demonstrate his ideas. Using a child's toy camera as one of the cameras those peaceful tourists used during the Capitol skirmish, he parodied Greene's denigration of January 6th. Kimmel gave it his best as the piece came to a finish, when he likened Greene's tantrum to that of a toddler who just found out there's no more ice cream and her voice like that of a chihuahua on helium. The audience erupted from their seats. Kimmel reserved the worst remarks for last. The unrestrained political humor of Kimmel was met with laughter and applause from the audience. You know, laugh, I'm starting to think Marjorie Taylor Greene might not be the stable genius she claims to be. Throughout the interview, Kimmel kept bringing up Greene's seeming disapproval, ludicrous conspiracy theories, and ardent Trump support.
Well, that's a nice Canadian way of putting it, eventuality. Meanwhile, he's like Jamie Lee Curtis waiting for Michael Myers to come back.
Obviously, Mr. Trump represents a certain amount of unpredictability, but we will make sure we're pulling together and preparing for whatever adventure.
Yeah, what if he holds the map upside down? I mean, he holds it like he held that Bible. Could be light suit for the Canadian.
The humor of the comedy trifecta was enhanced by each component. Kimmel's roast of Greene seems to have been just what the doctor ordered. Who would have thought comedy could be therapeutic? While cracking jokes, our favorite late-night comedian offered fresh insights to this political circus. Kimmel's one-liners had more depth than just humor. They sparked debate, contemplation, and above all, laughing at the ridiculousness. questioning, "Hey America, is this really what we're dealing with?" He held up a mirror to Greene's breakdown. Satire about politics is not just for laughs. It makes sense of paradoxes and brings humor to the misery of modern politics. Kimmel's roast served as a reminder that sometimes it's best to laugh at crazy. "Remember, folks, in politics, it's better to be the comedian than the punchline," Kimmel said. Furthermore, Greene makes the untrue assertion that proponents of gun control orchestrated false flag operations to conceal the truth about Sandy Hook, Parkland, and Las Vegas. In addition to being false, these statements seriously hurt the victims' families and survivors. By spreading these myths, Greene erodes public trust in the media and transparent governance. She has also spread misinformation regarding immunizations, minimized the gravity of COVID-19, and made comparisons between the Holocaust and mask regulations. Her casual language has caused vaccine hesitancy and heightened public health worries, therefore extending the pandemic. Under his presidency, Donald Trump disseminated an incredible volume of falsehoods. Over 30,000 false or misleading statements made by Trump during his presidency were confirmed by the Washington Post fact checker. The manner in which Trump managed the COVID-19 outbreak was among his most damaging falsehoods. He consistently downplayed the severity of the infection, claiming that it would disappear like a miracle and supporting cutting-edge treatments like hydroxychloroquine. Misinformation caused necessary public health responses to be delayed, which may have contributed to the high death toll in the U.S. Trump's lies about the 2020 election are arguably the most important. Trump continued to believe that the election had been stolen from him despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. This big lie set off the violent rebellion in the United States. Senate January 6, 2021. His denial of the election results and propagation of false accusations of voting fraud have caused a significant decline in popular trust in the democratic process. The consequences of MTG and Trump's falsehoods are real. They undermine trust in democratic institutions, promote conflict and violence, and endanger public health. Supporting people like Greene and Trump means you're embracing their lies and the damage they cause. A democratic society requires informed citizens and transparent, accountable leaders. When leaders can lie without consequence, the foundation of democratic governance is put at risk. Voters must demand integrity, honor, and morality from their leaders. Both Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump have repeatedly demonstrated their willingness to lie in order to further their political careers, regardless of the consequences. By their actions, they have bred dissension, mistrust, and harm. If we want to keep American democracy alive in the future, we have to reject politicians who thrive on deception. Voting for honesty and accountability is not just a political, but also a moral obligation. By turning away from MTG and Trump, we may begin to heal the divisions and restore trust in our institution, ensuring a more moral and just society for all.